Just before the break, I was talking about this interview highlighted by Connor Friedersdorf out of The Atlantic. It was an interview of John Yoo, and he was a lawyer who worked for the Bush administration, essentially an apologist for the torture that was going on at the time. And Fareed Zakaria at CNN was interviewing him and said, you've looked at these techniques that were used. They include forced rectal feeding, people being forced to stand on broken limbs for hours and hours, sleep deprivation up to a week. Does that strike you as torture? To which the Bush lawyer who had excused torture said, well, those are very troubling examples, and they would never have been approved by the Justice Department. They were not approved by the Justice Department at the time, but I have to question whether they're true because I can't take at face value the committee's report. There were no Republicans involved. Let me tell you something. There aren't going to be any reports coming out of the Senate Intelligence Committee when the Republicans get in. Richard Burr from North Carolina, the senator who's likely to be the head of that, has said he doesn't think the public should ever know what the CIA is doing. There should never be any public examination of anything that the CIA does. That's the kind of oversight we're going to get from the Republicans. It's going to be a total rubber stamp. And of course, it's been a rubber stamp from Dianne Feinstein for years and years. And as she's leaving, she's basically doing partially a CYA, and partially she has a personal vendetta because they spied on her. See, she's a senator. They're not supposed to spy on Dianne Feinstein and her staff. That made her angry. So she came after them with a bit of a personal vendetta. So it's one part personal vendetta and one part covering her behind. But he goes on to say, this is what John Yoo goes on to say, but I agree with you. If there were people who had to undergo what you just described, the things that have come out of that document, none of that was approved by the Justice Department. And then the interviewer says, but John, you've made a fair point that the Republican minority didn't join in, but the practices that they're describing, as I understand it, were taken from the CIA's own accounts. Are you saying you think the committee has doctored those reports? In other words, did they just make this up or did it come out of there? And he says, no, they were cherry-picked out of millions of documents. Look, that's how you investigate somebody. If somebody has got a document dump of millions of documents, that might just be the way they have of hiding their crimes. If somebody's got a document if they've got 1 million pages that get leaked out, and one of those pages say that they murdered somebody, that's not cherry picking when you pull that out. That's called an investigation. It's called exposing their crimes. If they did it and it's in the documents, it is a crime. And then John Yoo goes on to say, after he said, well, I think that those were just cherry picked, he says, but I agree with you. If these things happened as described in the report, as you described them, those were not authorized by the Justice Department. They were not supposed to be done, and the people who did that are at risk legally because they were acting outside of their orders. Okay, so he opens the door, and as Connor Friedersdorf says, he's just a step away from acknowledging that the violation of this law compels a prosecution. It really does compel a prosecution. And you know what? There aren't any orders that can be given that excuse somebody if they torture people, if they engage in those kinds of crimes. It doesn't matter if they were given an order or not. He's saying they did it on their own without an order, so they might have broken the law. They broke the law that we not only sent people to jail for, we executed people after World War II that engaged in water torture like this, waterboarding. We didn't just send them to jail, we executed them. Many people have pointed this out. However, our government, with Operation Paperclip, brought a lot of these torturers into the CIA to teach them how to do it. Joining us now is Alex Jones. We just got him on the line. Alex.
Absolutely, my friend, and I may be back in the chair tomorrow if I finish this important work. You've been doing a fabulous job this week. I want to wish everybody a wonderful Christmas. And remember, it is about Christ, even if you're not a Christian. It's okay. We don't have to be politically correct here. It's okay to admit where the holiday comes from. I know 95% of our listeners understand that even if you're not a Christian, we should all, which I am, of course, a Christian, and David is, and a lot of our crew, it's that the system wants to overthrow everything that's good and wholesome and replace it with the centralized government and Hollywood-type mind control system as the new God and get rid of all of our Christian values are Judeo-Christian values of don't torture, don't lie, don't bear false witness. Look at everything we see the DEA doing with NSA intercepts they get illegally, bearing false witness and creating false court cases with parallel construction. You see, the system is attacking true Christianity, not people that have used Christianity to do bad things. That certainly happened with any religion. But they don't like Christianity because it doesn't make the state God. They don't like our Bill of Rights and Constitution because our Bill of Rights and Constitution say we get our power, our liberty, our freedom, our rights from God, not from the state. So we, the people, are on top, and then you truly see Romans 13 in context of if you have godly rulers and then they're being just, then you should try to work with them and do what they say. But in every time in the Bible, Old Testament, New, when the rulers were ungodly, then the prophets were called forth, the people were called forth and commanded unto death to not submit to those orders. But I've seen not one, not two, not three, not four, not five. I've seen online and on television the last decade hundreds of TV preachers and others, because they're under faith-based initiative funding that's bipartisan to control what they say that the Christians, as you can just Google, preacher says Christians should have done what the Romans said and not been thrown to lions, or Christians should have worshipped idols. The preachers get up there and say, no, they weren't following Romans 13. They need to get down and worship those idols so they won't be thrown to the lions. It's just simply amazing that we see this type of propaganda and evil going on. And I've got a whole rant here tied into a bunch of news I want to go over based on stories on DrudgeReport.com and Infowars.com right now. American soldiers engaged with ISIS for the first time. We reported that. Russia and the people of Russia rush to stores to preempt price rises, bank-run fears. We told people a year ago that when they voted to not join the EU with Ukraine, that this would lead to them cutting off the gas supplies, cutting gas prices to bankrupt Russia. And again, it'll hurt Europe and all the economic analysis. It'll hurt the United States. It'll hurt Asia right as the new derivatives come due, as they prepare a new banker bailout worldwide. So this is hurting the people of the planet. Forget Obama, forget Putin, forget the different leaders. They're just being basically different players in this. The globalists are worldwide carrying this out. Meanwhile, the LA is collapsing. Hollywood is in incredible deep trouble. The mayor of LA this year said that they're in a crisis situation as that dinosaur media system collapses. Sony hackers are now reporting we're working for North Korea. Well, that was pretty obvious. Continuing, Gingrich says America has lost its first cyber war. Well, if they didn't build all these systems with NSA and CIA backdoors in Microsoft platforms, Apple platforms, in the Xbox platforms, in the Kinect platforms, in the cable box platforms, in the smart TV platforms, in the smart dishwasher platforms, if they didn't build in the cloud system this architecture designed to be spied on, then you wouldn't have other country hackers being able to exploit those systems. It's just incredible. They've been for a decade embedding chips that even when a computer's off or not plugged in can be energized and hold a capacitor power, but can also be remote energized and then surveil and download what's on your computer, then transmitting it. This is the total grid, not just little RFID and the Internet of Things being put in. This is the pre-planned worldwide global governance program, whether you're in China, whether you're in Russia, whether you're in the U.S., whether you're in Mexico or Australia, the cars, the computers, everything new coming out the last 5 years is embedded with tracker chips, taxation chips, spy chips, control chips. We told you 8 years ago, Google put out a patent and announced that they were indeed sampling in the patent and in a prospectus released to Google shareholders. Paul Watson wrote about it. People couldn't believe it. That Google is using cameras and microphones to sample in your home. They said, don't worry, a computer listens to keywords and files reports. Then, 2 months ago, I'm just breaking a full spectrum down here. The Samsung smart TVs, when you boot them up, says in the more than 50 pages of corporate legalese, we are listening and videotaping you, and we are sending it to third parties. So watch what you say. They say in there. So watch what you say. I'm going to say that again. And it's not just that smart TV. Every smart TV. See how it's a global government already, folks? Worldwide, whether it's produced in Mexico or India or China or Singapore or South Korea, or no matter where those TVs are made by over 30 major companies, they all do the same thing. There's your evil intelligence worldwide. We're already in a global government. They're just mopping up Russia and mopping up a few Arab countries. Are those Arab countries corrupt? Do I want to live there? No. Is Russia corrupt? Do I want to live there? No. Have I ever been to Russia? No. The point is, when they're done bringing them down, they are then going to crush the entire global economy and bring all of us to our knees. That's their plan. As if these globalists, as I've said many times, were space aliens from 1,000 light years away and had come here and taken control of our government and made a deal with the elite. It might as well be the same thing. I'm not saying that's happened. I'm using that as an analogy or a parable. It's that bad. It's that planned. It's that systematic. And it's in your face. Trojan horses in all the tech. Trojan horses in all the food, all the GMO food. Trojan horses now in everything. And I'm not trying to scare you, folks. I'm trying to motivate you to realize this is the main focus. This is the true takeover. But let's expand on this. And we've got the video up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. It's also on DrudgeReport.com. We should probably play some of it in the background for TV viewers. Again, we're simulcasting video, the death scene. U.S. officials okayed the interview ending with actors Franco and Seth Rogen, have round-the-clock bodyguards, and they've already lost $200 million. 12,000 emails in latest leak. And we've got the studios, saying stuff about Denzel Washington's race, so don't use him. Joe Lee, who we know is completely mentally ill and basically is a Satan worshiper. I've already told you that years ago. It's well known. Well, here it is, leaked. Joe Lee branded seriously out of her mind. Oh, of course she is. I mean, this is a ring wraith demon. But see, again, people can say, well, this may be a false flag. No, I don't think so, because they don't want to attack their big little baby Hollywood. This just shows how the globalists built all these back doors to rob us and assault us, and they built this worldwide, and how now it can be used by any little party they don't fully control. Any psycho demon group not under their control, like North Korea or Russia or whoever that they're busy mopping up. But they will use this attack, nevertheless, to use our freedoms. But look at this headline, how it all ties together. U.S. government, U.S. official okayed interview ending. Think about that. Think about how that's a little window into how the U.S. government is in control of what happens, not just with the Seth Rogen movie. It's on record that they approve almost every script. It's on record they say they want those things planted in television programs. It's on record. I had the star of the X-Files come to my house, Dean Haglund, and say, you're right when you say that was probably planted by the government. The CIA came 6 months before and said, do an episode about a hijacked jet by remote control to be blamed on Afghanistan, a jumbo jet being flown to the World Trade Center that then is really used to bring in martial law. And he goes, but why, Alex, would the CIA tell me, and tell us, and tell Chris Carter right in front of me to write this? Why would they do it? And that's the whole point. It's about flaunting it in our face. Our subconscious mind is many times, something more than 50 times more powerful than our conscious mind. And they know that we're more comfortable, even if something's scary. Just like you'll have bad dreams of something scary as you grow up to get you over the fear. When you have anxiety about something, you'll have bad dreams about it as your brain war games it. They know our brains are more comfortable. They know subconsciously we know 9/11's an inside job. So in that program and more than 50 others, or probably about 60 or 70, we've gone over it and chronicled it, they told us they blew up the World Trade Centers. They told us that day, we're going to blow up Building 7, get back, here's the countdown. on CBS Radio, Fox News, CNN, and 2 channels of BBC. But still, we're the conspiracy theorists because we can play the clips. You see, ladies and gentlemen, that's how this works. They tell you what they're going to do before they do it so that you are subconsciously aware of this and accept it. But I'll go further. I've been told by more sophisticated people than I years ago, the one reason I've been left alive is that the elite believe we are so weak that I can come out here as a good actor, someone trying to help people, but that the bad actors, I don't mean that in the sense of actor, but actors, you acting with good intent or acting with bad intent, they think that this is part of the revelation of the method, but also it's a metaphysical law that you must first be warned, just like in the Bible, people are warned over and over again they're going to be going into captivity if they continue their evil ways. You must be warned as a metaphysical law that God has set in place, you can see manifest in reality every day, of all these greater truths. And then you have to make the conscious or spiritual decision that you don't care and that you're going to go along with it. And so I really realize the reason InfoWars is here, the reason David Knight's here, and everything else, is the devil thinks you're weak. The New World Order thinks you're weak. They think you're going to hear this and do nothing. But God thinks you're strong. And so God has risen up people, millions of them around the world, whether you're a shopkeeper or a police officer or in the military or a farmer or a factory worker or a corporate person, it doesn't matter. You know in your heart that God's speaking to you to warn others. Now, we also need to look a little bit coming up at what Yellen, the new Fed boss, is doing and breaking that down. We're also going to break down the wristband notices when you fall asleep, records your TV show. See, everything surveils you to make your life more convenient. And pizza places will scan your retinas and decide what you're going to buy before you buy it by measuring where your eye looks. And neuroscientists working on uploading brain to computer. This is the end of free will that they're trying to set up. That's just some of it. But before we go any further, I've been ranting the last 15, 20 minutes. I wanted to get David Knight's take just on the roundabout of news that I was getting into here today, because it's just really hitting me how much we get comfortable with all of what's happening, David.
Well, Alex, you were talking about how it's just come out that Sony had approved the ending of their film, The Interview. They had approved that with the U.S. government. And I thought, look at how far we've come from just not even 2 years ago when they delayed the release of the new version of Red Dawn because the Chinese government had a problem with it. And we thought that was outrageous at the time because the Chinese were the ones in the movie that had attacked America. And they made them redo that using North Korea as the villains. And it delayed that picture for an entire year. And now we've got the American government presiding over the same thing. And I guess it's not a surprise since Sony Pictures are the ones who released Zero Dark 30, which was an absolute propaganda film for the lie about the shooting of Osama bin Laden, and beginning with a torture scene showing that they're getting the key intel from torturing a suspect.
And at the same time, all these government people get to be part of Hollywood production and be on their own little power trips. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when the CIA lawyer who had defended all this enhanced interrogation torture wrote his book, Company Man, the thing that came out about all of that was how he related the experience of having somebody in Hollywood that they were going to hire to work for the CIA covertly, and he demanded to be paid $50,000 in cocaine. And, of course, the lawyer said, I don't know where he got that idea that the CIA would have cocaine, but he wound up working for us.
And then look at this headline. Massive graveyard with 1 million mummies unearthed in Egypt. Well, below that, ISIS is now running around and just killed 150 women, it's being reported, who refused to have sex with them. The very group that our government for now 4.5 years has been openly funding and turning loose. Yeah. This is just getting insane. And what's insane about it is, David, it's all coming out now, and no one's getting in trouble for it. I wonder what's next.
Well, absolutely. And one of the things that I'd covered in the last hour, Alex, I thought it was a really key quote. It was something from Julian Assange talking about Barrett Brown's hearing that was supposed to happen this week. They've now pushed back to January. He said everybody needs to realize, and you were talking about this before, how pervasive the spying is on us. And, of course, most people still haven't really accepted the fact that social media even is a massive way to spy on people, let alone all these different devices and the Internet of Things and how they're getting that intel. And, of course, we were told that by David Petraeus a couple of years ago, but people still haven't even internalized that. They haven't even internalized that social media is spying on them. What he said, Alex, was Twitter is a police interview that never ends. Facebook has all your friends wearing a wire. YouTube has you in the dock talking to the judge. They are creating a vast library of statements that will be taken out of context and used to hang you. And that's what they're doing to Barrett Brown.
Alex Jones here for Infowars.com. We're going to be intensifying our efforts to awaken free humanity to the scourge of the globalist in the month of July. And starting this July 4th, we are going to slash prices in a celebration of true Americana, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence on all of the Made in America products that you will find at madein1776.com or InfoWarsStore.com. We're talking about Made in America belt buckles in brass and nickeled brass that state it loud and proud. Molon Labe. That's why we have the best-selling Made in America men's and women's Molon Labe Infowars.com shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a win-win. You vote with your dollars. You support the most hardcore organization out there for promoting true ideas of libertarianism, constitutionalism, basic human empowerment. But more importantly, you get T-shirts and belt buckles so you can meet like-minded people. So you have a conversation starter with friends and family and coworkers. We are reaching out to each other. And you also throw it in the face of the anti-gunners and the rest of the parasites out there that you're a free man and woman and that you're not going to be a slave, that you're not going to be intimidated to shut up by their tyranny that they call political correctness. That's why in the month of July, we have got giant specials on everything at madein1776.com. But to expand the InfoWar, we're offering the biggest special in the history, 13 years of PrisonPlanet.tv, our multimedia platform. We're offering the equivalent of more than 5 months free right now when you get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv, and you get 11 memberships that can be used with the same username and passcode so you can share it with friends and family. Now is the time to fund the war bonds. Now is the time to fund the InfoWar. Now is the time to get aggressive. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to realize you are the people that made the InfoWar so successful and one of the leading lights worldwide against tyranny. You don't stand behind us, you stand right beside us, and I salute all of you on this July 4th, 2014, and going forward in the month of July and onward. This is about freedom worldwide and that desire for human dignity and self-determination that beats in the human breast. We are brothers and sisters together in the true spirit of liberty and the animating contest of liberty. And so I quote in closing the great Thomas Jefferson that I have sworn on the altar of God resistance against every form of tyranny. And never forget, if you are watching or listening to this transmission, you are the resistance.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.